Today I would like to talk about internal or inner and outer alchemy. Many people ask, what is alchemy? What is Siddha teaching about alchemy? How to understand alchemy? Because on one hand, all these teachings talk about different herbs, different mushrooms, different substances to transform the body. And then there is an unexplored path, the internal path. So how to understand what is real alchemy? And so this video is about internal alchemy versus external alchemy. In fact, the true Siddha path has been very much mixed and has undergone a lot of corruption due to the corruption of knowledge through different eras, and because of Kali Yuga that we have been living in. So to find really any grain of truth and sort of purity is almost impossible. It's a very hard task unless you discover this knowledge within yourself through your own awakening, refinement, and realization. So what I'm trying to do is to give a certain insight about Siddha understanding of alchemy. Because in order to understand this subject, we need to look at the multidimensionality of our being. Because when you see different people teaching in the name of Siddha, or Siddha healing, or Siddha Kundalini healing, or Siddha alchemy, they are teaching or giving different kind of solutions which are of external nature. For instance, some decoctions, herbs, preparations, even the understanding of Siddha healing degraded to the form of use of herbs only. Originally, the root of the disease was seen in corruption of consciousness. So all the roots of all diseases are corruption of consciousness, whether your own consciousness or in communication, in relation with other people. For example, you've done something wrong, someone cursed you, or someone wished you ill. And those people's waves affect your consciousness, your own being. So you have to understand that in that context, that we are various waves. We are kind of a being of made of multidimensional, various frequency of waves. And then on the physical level, we manifest what is in our overall consciousness and energetic composition. So at the moment, diseases are of karmic nature because it's like a payback. So through different corruption of ancestors and corruption of lineages, corruption of family trees and so on, different kind of entanglements, karmic entanglements there. We came here to pay back. So the age of Kali Yuga is the age of paying back. So ultimately everything is right and everything is correct. But once the individual being starts awakening from this, from the self-imposed veils, from the ancestors' veils and so on, we start emerging and realizing the root causes and how we came to this existence in this particular body, in this particular family, and so on. So we no longer can look at the body as just something which is very solid and which has sort of an independent life of its own. We can't look at it anymore, because we awake to the subtle essence of the self. the essence that makes this body function, exist, appear. So we realize that we are only operating through the body. That's where the body becomes a karma, meaning the vessel of the conscious imprints and distortions. When we start the process of self-refinement, that is the actual tool or the beginning for inner alchemy. Because if you think that you're going to ingest some magical drops, or you're going to have some herbs or hallucinogenic herbs or mushrooms or decoctions and things are going to change, you will start the path, or you will activate with that the path to self-delusion. Because all these things have nothing to do with a real path of self-integration, yoga, and enlightenment. Yoga has nothing to do with smoking of different substances, consuming different hallucinogenic and stimulating substances or drugs. So it's very important to be clear in that. And when Siddhas talk about different herbs, you have to understand also that there are different herbs which have different meaning for the balance of the body. But there is a very, very subtle knowledge about it, because this kind of herbs and this kind of substances can be, first of all, charged. It's not just a plain herb or substance or preparation, alchemical preparation in the form of some metals and gemstones. It's the consciousness of that person, of that Siddha who prepares it. Because everything has a meaning only when it is in touch and in synergy with the consciousness of that being who activates it, or who is trying to give something to someone with the purpose or intention to heal them. In Siddha tradition, it was called prana pratishta. It means that all these substances were charged. And even if some metals or substances in certain mixtures could give a certain result, the secret ingredient was again the Siddha consciousness. Because Siddha himself or herself have undergone the internal transformation. They are the vessel of internal alchemy. And that's why they've reached to the point where they are able to activate or charge any substance, to activate the specific, I would say, plants, or charge them for specific purpose. So according to their consciousness, according to the understanding of the plant life as well, according to the understanding of the plant life in relation to the moon cycles, to the solar cycles, to other planetary cycles. But these are different Siddha arts, as I've mentioned in the other videos. Something as an art can be practiced, can be studied, but it doesn't mean that that is the spiritual knowledge, because spiritual knowledge is only self-born within. So before one starts practicing all these arts and external alchemy, one has to undergo a lot of refinement and transformation on the internal level, so that one becomes the vessel of that alchemical transformation, and one's subtle body is mature. So one has become the essence of that whole process. One has realized own essence. One has, through that realization, transformed the subtle being, which has resulted in the external transformation, the body. The body is a fruit. So many yogis and siddhas became youthful, ageless, immortal, also on the physical level, because they've completed this process. In this Kali Yuga, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. Yet, it all depends on the inner purity. So what is this alchemy? What is it based on? It's based on one's ability to understand what is action and what is being. The cultivation of inner stillness allows one to see the moving waves. If one perceives oneself as a space, one can realize when the space is still and when the space is vibrant. One is able to distinguish between different waves, and so one masters that way. If one is able to master the subtle being, or the subtle body, energy body, whatever you call it, one's physical body will start natural, gradual, but definite transformation, which is the physical alchemy, which will not require that many external tools, or not at all. Some siddhas used to support their body from time to time or during the process with some specific herbs, bitter herbs and some other type of herbs, which would have particular value for them. But these things are not the foundation of the actual spiritual alchemy. The foundation of spiritual alchemy is the source of self-being. When you discover that, you awake to that. Your experience is yoga and samadhi. Samadhi is not the achievement, and you have to understand that. No matter how many people will try to persuade you that that is the achievement, and foolishly believe themselves that if they experienced it, they've achieved everything. Samadhi is just the beginning, because it's the beginning of you realizing that you are much more than you thought of yourself before, that you are not the physical, that you are not the waves of emotions and thoughts arising. You are that equanimous, ultimate, blissful, space-like being. And when you are able to go back to your home, to that source of your youth, alchemy, and immortality, and through that you're able to refine all the gross emotional transitory aspects of self, this process, this inner internal alchemy will eventually result in your also external physical transformation. And in that sense, or in that case, you would not need to read anything. You would not need to feel like you are looking for anything, because you will be content. Everything is within you, you will perceive. But it doesn't mean that if you've realized something, you would need to demonstrate it or go and proclaim something out of yourself. Because proclamation, demonstration comes from lack of refinement, from lack of that deep perception of inner essence. If you perceive it, you will be content yourself without any need for demonstration, for changing anything. You will be able to express yourself as it comes naturally, and your knowledge will be genuine and self-born. Because the activation of the sacred inner chamber within the self, from which everything starts and with which everything ends, as we know of this illusionary existence. So when you activate that through the grace, through the deeper longing and genuine understanding of things, when you engage on the path of refinement, in the self-refinement, through life, without escapism, without trying to prove anyone anything, without trying to become anything or unbecome anything, you will realize simplicity. You will face challenges through the wise and blissful understanding, and you will take life each day at a time, where no matter what happens externally, you will be fulfilled and contented within. And this is the foundation. Contentment is the foundation. Samadhi is the foundation. How you're going to go about it further depends on how deeply you've understood the process, how you're able to practically apply it, and how much you are able to cultivate selflessness and understanding or distinguishing transitory from the actual. But this is only possible through the deepening of the inner absorption. The more you perceive self through the absorbed being, the more you realize the transitory aspects of the beliefs, of the even subtle understandings, like subtle perceptions of life, like my beliefs, my disbeliefs. You come to the point where you don't need any concepts. You don't need any beliefs or disbeliefs. You flow with life as it is, without tags, without pursuits, yet with a clear vision. This vision is inner purity, selflessness, and honesty to self, simplicity, and further refinement through stillness. You don't need to cultivate certain qualities in yourself, because you come to the point of natural morale. As long as you're cultivating something, as long as you're practicing something, you are on a certain level of ambition where you are trying to satisfy your inner desires, inner ambitions, whether they're gross or subtle, spiritual or material, doesn't matter, they're still there. When everything subsides and the space stops vibrating, you perceive the essence. If you're able to recognize that for an essence, you will never fall for things of transitory nature, because those things will be perceived by you as temporary, as waves that arise and subside, as come as go, as the waves that come and go. So that is the essence of alchemy. If you think that someone sells you something charged, if you think that someone tells you that if you consume this water, this charged water, or this Siddha Navapashanam, or this kind of nectars and so on, you are a fool if you fall for such things, because these things don't exist. The knowledge is lost. The actual nectar is only within. And those few fortunate ones have realized that. That's why they don't fall for these. If you come across someone whose presence is powerful and whose knowledge is self-born and radiant, just staying there next to that being for some time will shift your perspective, will shift your understanding. Siddhas left such presence also through their Mahasamadhi places. But yet, people in Kali Yuga corrupted that, built certain temples around them. Siddhas never built any temples around anything. They never tried to push people into organized religion. That's why priesthood was against Siddhas. Siddhas were all over the world through different traditions. These beings are self-perfected and liberated. They've realized the inner alchemy and the essence of this inner alchemy without trying to really become anything. They have never proclaimed themselves. They flew in life and vibrated that higher connection beyond the collective, here through the collective, through their individual being as well. So the essence of alchemy is inner awakening, inner refinement, inner integration. Once you are there, you will be able to create elixir out of anything. Whatever you touch will turn into gold. Whatever you touch will be vibrant with spiritual essence and spiritual depth and true knowledge. And that is the essence of true Siddha teachings, not the essence of the currently proclaimed Siddha teachings under the name of Siddha, under the name of Kundalini, under the name of Shaktipat. People think that Shaktipat is to give someone energy. There's no such a thing. Either you are able to reconnect people with the ultimate by giving them actual experience, which doesn't fade away, which is always there, and you guide them through that, or it's just a strange vibration, the source of which you don't know. When you look for Shaktipat and Kundalini awakening, be aware it's an extremely rare phenomena at this day and age, an extremely rare phenomena. People use techniques of lower tantra, Vashikaran, attraction, control, in order to mesmerize people, in order to bring them close to themselves, in order to control them and use their energy, use their emotions and thoughts in the form of theft of energy, in the form of their own or for their own wealth and accumulation of fame and well-being. So this is the Kali Yuga. This is the spirituality of Kali Yuga, the spirituality of slavery, where people fall for, in the name of spirituality, for those who are exploiters, spiritual exploiters, who quote something, who mesmerize through different tantric rituals, who give people action-driven spirituality, where yoga and absorption and meditation and awakening are our essence. They are natural. They are not to be forced. They are not to be exercised. They are not to be pushed into any direction. They are already there. If the link is reconnected and one realizes and understands the essence of the process and has enough courage, purity, and sincerity to go through this process, they are able to. But Siddha teaching has never been a mass teaching, because everyone is on their own evolutionary stage and they will pursue the form of spirituality which applies to their evolutionary stage. What is true will be not known for the majority, and it doesn't need to, because we create and we experience and we enjoy or suffer from things that we believe are right and wrong, which we create through our own mind and through the vibration that is familiar to us. But those who become aware of these things may understand for themselves what is what, and that is the essence of this message. Thank you.